This is going to be a fun one.
What game did you really enjoy but didn't finish, and not finishing didn't affect your enjoyment?
I actually never beat. I think if I were to go back through, I'd have to say I probably haven't beat any of the Grand Theft Auto games, but I'm pretty sure I've put hundreds of hours into each one. Um, Actually, I'm positive I put more than that into the more recent. Any game that has that sort of sandboxy thing, probably Minecraft would go into this list where they've put you in a world that is somewhat systemic or at least majorly systemic and then just let you do a whole bunch of stuff. I've never gotten to anywhere with enders in Minecraft. I've been playing Minecraft since 2010. 2010, Jesus, 2000, maybe even earlier. The the point is not the ending. The point is the play. And I think those games are the ones where I've found myself never caring about beating, never giving a shit if I make it to that final point, never uh, caring about even what the ending looks like. I think I beat San Andreas, never beat Vice City, put a ton of time into it, love that game. I think San Andreas, I almost didn't beat because of one mission with a train and a remote control car that I wanted to put my fist through the screen. But I ended up beating that. And then, Grand Theft Auto in general. These games don't need me to win. They need me to play. They like it when I play. Screw online. I'm not even talking about the sort of recent edition of that setup. It's my ability to just dive in and run around. I find myself doing the same thing with sort of more open-ended games, but as far as games that have been completed, those would be probably top of my list. Once you get past that, I kind of tend to beat most of these sort of larger scale games. And the ones that I don't are ones that I wish I could love. I think a Near Automata, I've heard everyone pronounce it. Any of those series, and I love playing them for a while and then I stop. They're not necessarily for me, but uh, as far as those that it didn't diminish, it's got to be sandbox games. That's the stuff I love from beginning to end. Playing in a space, learning how all the systems work, seeing how much I can mess with them. It comes from my days in doing QA. It comes from my days of sort of enjoying messing around with simulations and programming that shit, which I still even do today. The more I'm able to mess with systems and see how they interplay, the better. And at that point, I'll get lost and I'll stop caring about sort of anything that has to do with completing a game. As far as the non sort of systemic ones, the one that embarrasses me the most is I never actually beat Super Mario Sunshine. And it's probably still one of my favorite Mario games of all time. Never beat it. I can't remember the ending, can't remember getting towards it. I just know that I adored that game, and I think I've started it 4 or 5 times.
What game started out great but completely lost you by the end and made the entire experience feel like a waste?
Games that started, or maybe even that I still love the core game of, but the ending basically ruined, are probably too many. Endings in games are very difficult as a thing because again, games are processes. They're not meant to come to completion. They're not meant to sort of go there. You want the constant move forward of playing. Give me more. And the one that I think, I mean, the famous one that I think retroactively makes everything you've ever played, it's not even one game, ruins the entire series, would be Mass Effect. You spend so much of your time to make decisions and choices for entire cities and entire worlds and entire species and people and things that matter to you. And as you make your way through Mass Effect 1 and 2, it's about your choices. Like it's the central thing that everything keeps pointing back to and everyone's critiquing you on in the game. So it's pushing. And with Mass Effect 3, it just, you end with another choice, but this choice doesn't really have impact. It's not, they never trusted themselves as developers to sort of allow you to just have the ending that you've dictated through your gameplay emergently. They just basically went, okay, cool. Here are 3 options. Pick from one of those and you're done. And these kinds of endings are always troublesome. But in Mass Effect, it really, I mean, it just made it so it was just like, and made it so now when I went back and I was playing the sort of remaster and rethinking through and playing it again, couldn't really find myself caring about the world. It really kind of retroactively fixes a lot of that for you. But with that, there's like the other half, which is games that ended because Deus Ex, for example, not the original Deus Ex, but Mankind Divided, which I actually think was an excellent shooter, really fun game, just simply ends almost in the middle of a battle as you're getting to it, because that's it. It was just a horrifying ending that really made the rest of the game sort of pointless. Made it just lost all of its luster. God, that probably would be, if I had to say the one that made me the angriest, it would be that. It would be Halo 2. It would be, I mean, hell, a lot of the Halos, except for 3. I thought 3 was good, 1 was good. But God, just so many of those cliffhanger bullshit endings where more's coming, you better buy another one, join us next week. And it's that kind of mentality. When you've invested so much time and put so much into it, there's maybe nothing worse than those. Those would probably be the top of my list. Mass Effect, Deus Ex, Halo 2, or whatever this most recent was with Infinite, had the same problem. There's a lot of unfinished endings. It's tough.
Can a great game studio make a terrible game? Can a terrible game studio make a great game?
Anyone can make anything. Great games are like great films or great books. They're lightning in a bottle. There is not a formula for it. There are not ingredients you can put in it that will make the thing happen. The thing happens of almost its own accord. There are astonishing stories that have come out of studios that were broken internally, but yet were able to somehow rally troops together to put together astonishingly complex or interesting games. A lot of internal sort of stories go on with games like, for example, Crysis, which had a troubled development period. There's a lot of games that have, but that come out and sort of make a mark on the industry that is indelible, that is incredibly difficult for anything else to sort of come out of. World of Warcraft is a great example of this. It's a great team. I'm not saying otherwise, but the development, to say it went smooth would be silly. It was fraught with issues, constantly changing, team and drama and issues across the board. Yet again, made its mark on the industry. At the same time, you have some of that talent, for example, goes on to make something like Overwatch. A small team, super hungry, made their shit, made their mark. And then that same team goes on to make Overwatch 2, which we'll just say the reception is not quite as strong. Lightning in a bottle is the reality of pretty much any art form, and that's what games are. The ability for us to say formulaically, here's what we've got, is just not going to work. Call of Duty, I think, has suffered from this maybe more than anyone, of highs and lows, just because the expectation and the death march style development for many years of getting one of these things out all the time. And you're talking about a studio filled with some of the best in the industry always, especially early on. But being able to maintain that, being able to keep that up, being able to actually have it be formulaically built, they've shown you can't do this. Striking Distance, filled with some of the most talented people in the industry from a lot of those studios, trying to make a Dead Space clone. Didn't work. Really, really didn't work either. The ability to make a great game is difficult, and it is a thing that people try to capture and try to hold on to. The reality is a great studio, and how you can mark them, is not even by their regularity of making great games, but it's what they're able to push forward, and are they able to make a mark on the industry at least once, maybe twice, and keep that world open. If they can keep that possibility space open, they can keep that from becoming a here is how we make games, harden specifically towards that. It puts them in a category of their own that lets them build possibly something great again.